soccer fans, we hope you've got your cups filled with some tea because our cup of tea is ready to speak all things women's soccer with you. My name's Megan Warner and I'm here with my co-hosts Harlie Ford and Katie Goodman. How are you guys today?
Good, good. Just getting my bit of tea in and ready to go.
Yeah, excited to talk about women's soccer.
That is what we like. So let's get straight into it and spill the tea with the latest and greatest in women's soccer. So first off, let's go to our beloved UWS. We are partnered with them. We love them. We all play in the UWS. So first off, San Antonio Athenians have clinched a playoff spot in the UWS with 2 matches remaining. So Katie, I'm sure you're buzzing about that.
Oh, yes, we are just on cloud nine about it. And, we've kind of had the playoffs in mind for a while now. I'm ready to kind of just finish out the season hard, get a couple wins, hopefully, and then just, take on the playoffs. We're ready to see some bigger contenders again, like LSR. We felt like that we weren't quite awake during that match, so we're ready to go at it again. And we're ready to start playing other conferences too. I think that's really going to show a lot more about what we're made of, who's who in the league. Because right now it's kind of hard to read these conferences, and all of that. So
definitely.
Yeah. Is there anyone? Yeah. Is there anyone from a different conference that like you are looking forward to playing? Or like, who you really want to play?
Well, what comes to mind are some of the other top contenders like DCFC, Midwest. I'm just kind of thinking about being in the ring with those guys on top of LSR and how we're going to hold up there. So there's no doubt we're going to have to definitely step things up and make things happen. But I'm excited to go against some really strong teams. It's just going to show us what we're made of.
Yeah. Speaking of these big teams, we had LSR beat FC. So do you guys think we're going to see them top the power rankings? Harlie, what do you think?
Well, I mean, maybe, but I do think that, I'd like to see like a stronger performance to, take that leading position. I think Kitty could agree to that.
Yeah.
But I definitely, I don't know. You never know what might happen. Everybody's working as hard as they can in this league, and I would think it'd be cool to see some changes in the power rankings. Maybe some different teams showing up and taking a step forward as top leaders in women's soccer in UWS.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, Midwest, they beat Peoria 6-1. Is that right? So it seems like
the Mustangs beat one.
Yeah, yes, Mustangs beat Peoria Midwest. So it's like, whatever, the Midwest. So it's like I would like to see them climb in rankings and all of that. But yeah. I think Midwest United is just such a strong team. They've already shown out against DCFC. I believe they should be in the #1 spot right now. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and they're also undefeated, like that's something that's not easy in the slightest to maintain, trying to, it's very, very difficult to keep a winning streak, especially when the competition is so high.
Yeah, and we kind of saw that with FC Buffalo. We all loved FC Buffalo at the start of the season. They were a brand new team and they came out so strong. And it, like we said, it's really, really hard to stay undefeated. And they were someone who kind of had a little slip up against Scorpions FC, lost 5-2. And it's like, that's such a big upset. But really, to lose one game out of how many games they're playing, like almost inevitable, could you say? Because remaining undefeated for an entire season, especially a summer season where you're playing so frequently, that's a really hard thing to do.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a solid point there for sure.
Yeah, it makes me sad a little bit that FC Buffalo did lose because I'm from Buffalo, so like I root for them very hard. It's really wonderful to see what they're doing, and like the fact that there's a high level competition in that area for women's soccer is choice. It's really wonderful. I know a lot of I mean, I was growing up there, and a lot of my friends, they've grown up, they've started playing soccer, want to keep playing, and the fact that there's something there for them now, it's very heartwarming. So regardless of their loss, they're still a wonderful team and a great organization. So
yeah,
I have no doubt they'll hang around.
Yeah, they got back to winning ways this past weekend with a 5-1 win over New England. So I don't think it fazed them. I think they were just like, okay, we'll take it on our chin and we'll be back next week.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, we've got a comment coming in. Midwest should be.
I agree.
Got some audience opinions. I agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, they've proven themselves so far.
Definitely. Well, power rankings should be coming out sometime this week on Twitter. So check out next couple of days. Keep your eyes peeled. Moving on, let's kind of talk about some higher level soccer. We've got the Olympic Games coming up in Tokyo. And this past week, we saw the US women's national team and the Canadian national team rosters come out. The group stages are beginning on July 21st. So it's getting close. And it was really exciting to see who will be playing in this huge tournament.
Yeah, I'm glad to see, the usual Carly Lloyd in the mix. I feel like it'd be sacrilege not to have her there. She's just so dang good, And what were they saying? She's now the oldest women's soccer Olympian ever. That's amazing. That gives people like me hope. I'm like, I'm not a Carly Lloyd, but I'm coming in at 31 here, and I'm like, okay, I still got some years to make some things happen. So I don't know. She's just set so many trends, and she's an example for so many people, both younger and older players alike. I'm just like singing her praises over here. Love you, Carly, if you're watching this.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, it's incredible, being able to play the game that you love for as long as you can. Like, good for her. I'm sure there are people out there who are gonna like send other doubts or, say that she's too old for this game. But, I think that regardless of where she goes, regardless of how much time she gets on the field, like she's gonna give it her all. So, it's a testament to her, like her love for the game, and it's gonna be so exciting to see her out there, making history once again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's going to be her 4th Olympics, and you've also got Tobin Heath out there heading for a 4th Olympics, and just having players like that with the experience that they do have, it can be so crucial. I mean, they've got 11 of the same players that went to the Olympics in 2016 in Brazil, so that consistency is really going to be key for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
It's that chemistry.
Yeah, and it's a whole nother ball game when you're playing at that level. It's just like when you go from, club to college, and from college to semi-pro to pro. Now you're going pro to international. Like it's just insane to even think about. So yes, like the fact that they do have some people there that are experienced, it's going to make all the difference. And I think that maybe that's part of the reason why they do so well in the World Cup. It's like they have this close-knit team. There tends to be like some players repeated every year, and that chemistry makes all the difference.
I'd agree. Well said, Kitty.
Yeah, and 17 of those players who won the World Cup this last time round in 2019 are going to be playing in this Olympic team. So we know, we've seen this quality that they have. And the only player that actually wasn't at that World Cup in 2019 was Christy Mewis. And now both the sisters,
she's my girl,
are going to be playing. And let's just give them a shout out, because they played for Scorpions SC, who are now competing in the UWS. So we love to see this incredible talent coming up. And, it just shows you the great level that we have in the UWS.
Yeah, it definitely shows proof that the system works. All these Segway leagues, they're working, they're doing their job. It's incredible to see it play out in real life.
Absolutely. And again, like just talking about like how Carly Lloyd is being like able to stay with the US women's national team. Like Kristen Mewis coming back, after seeing like shadow banned almost from like being able to play at the highest level. She's incredible. She is genuinely like such a joy to watch, and I'm so excited that like she's gonna be able to play at the highest level with her sister. Like I get to play with my sister, and like it's the most wonderful thing in the world. Like, being able to share something that you love so much with somebody who's been with you your whole life. Like it's going to be something special to watch. I'm really excited for this showing of our women's team. It's going to be a good time.
I love that cake. Yeah, like you know what it's like to be a sister playing on that field, and now they're going to do it, you know, one of the biggest stages in the world at the Olympics. Like that's crazy.
Jeez. Their parents must be so proud. Can
Oh
you
my goodness, I can't
imagine?
even
Wow.
imagine.
Yeah. That's great.
And then, so we also saw the Canadian national team roster come out. Previously, they've won back-to-back bronze medals. So they're really going to be hoping to get in that final match this year. And we spoke about, you know, Carlie Lloyd, Tobin Heath coming in with that experience. Now, Canada has Christine Sinclair, like plays and captains Portland Thorns in the NWSL, captain of her national team. And we had a lot of talk about Cristiano Ronaldo scoring his brace against France, making him the greatest international goal scorer in football. But a lot of people did not specify that that was solely men's. And he's got a little bit of way to go before he catches Christine Sinclair, who's currently holding that record of top international goal scorer with 186 goals.
Right.
I feel like that's media in a nutshell. You know, they cover what they want to sometimes. And it's like, okay, hold the phone. Like, what about women's sports? Like, we're still dominating in the world of soccer, whether you're in the US or Canada. Like, come on, throw us a bone here, you know? But yeah, I'm really glad you brought up that point, Megan, because Christine Sinclair, she's a solid player. She is like amazing. And so I'm glad she's getting some of that recognition here at least, you know.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see like what the Olympics can do exposure wise for women's soccer, you know, making sure that
Yeah.
these names that we know, you know, other girls who play soccer know, are
Yeah.
becoming more mainstream and understood as powerhouses and not just women's soccer, but soccer as a whole, and also as athletes, just like pure athleticism. Like Christine
Yeah.
Sinclair, she's incredible. Like being able to see her on the field, I've seen her play against like the Orlando Pride. Like, oh my goodness, what like a presence on the field she is. So it's definitely going to be wonderful to have the Olympics come back after, you know, this whole COVID year, and then being able to see our team come together and show the world like what it means to be a soccer player, and you know how strong you can be and how much of a difference you can make. So yeah.
Right. And, you know, I think after this last World Cup, the U.S. women's team have made it a point to really make a big splash and bring a lot of attention to the inequality between women's and men's sports and pay and everything. There's a documentary coming out. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But I think by people going against the grain and really speaking out and doing the things they're scared to do, it opens up a platform for other players in other countries across the board. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, a lot of businesses and organizations are starting to kind of take hold of these movements. So if you notice in the MLS right now, it's Pride Week, and there are pride flags everywhere. Things are going great. Like there's like full-on organizations and that are showing up to these games. There are players being ambassadors for these organizations. And so when you think like if they can kind of get some traction there, why can't women's sports with pay equality get some traction? So I wouldn't doubt that there's going to be a more, you know, media coverage coming up as we're watching these Olympics, talking about these kinds of things and really giving them the push that they need.
Yeah, agreed.
Definitely. I do think that like we are seeing such growth every single time there's a major tournament, whether it's the World Cup or the Olympics. I feel like women's soccer it gets that attention that it really does deserve, and we just see it soar.
Exactly. Yep.
So let's move on to the next segment of our show today. So last week we were able to speak a little bit about our positions. So let's just do a little quick recap. I am a midfielder, but have just played about every position on the field except for centre back. And I only played in goal when my dad had to bribe me back when he was my coach. So centre midfielder for me, but have played a lot of other positions. Katie, what position are you?
So lately I've been left and right back, but I've also every now and then in practice I'll step into that center back role. But in the past I was a center mid, I was an outside winger, I was really into the whole play creation stuff. But now that I've been playing outside back for a while, I love it because it's like it's kind of like the little safe corner in the back, and you can make plays out of the back. You can kind of segue a little bit into that outside mid position, get your crosses in if you want. Of course, depending on the formation. Yeah, no. So I mean, I'm loving it right now. But it's also been interesting kind of stepping into the center back area a little bit because it's such a vulnerable area of the field that is just, it feels like a totally different vibe to me. And maybe it's just because I'm not used to being there. But it has also helped me to understand a lot more about the back line in general, like, oh, this is, now if I were in her shoes, I'd want me here, so if someone else was a center back and I was an outside back is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, what about you, Megan? What is your position again?
Yeah, I was a centre midfielder, and I think Harlie, you have kind of a similar situation as Katie right now with that centre back to outside back position.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I started out as a goalkeeper because I didn't really have a lot of skill with my feet at the time, so I was pretty good with the hands. I was playing tackle football before, so I knew how to catch things. But then I transitioned into being a defender, moved out of that goalkeeper position as I gained like skills using my feet. And I've been there my entire soccer career pretty much. Sometimes, when the game is desperate or something, a coach will throw me in a different position because they know that regardless if that is what I'm good at, I'm going to work as hard as I can in that position. So I have been transitioned into a midfield position, sometimes as a forward. And each spot is so dynamic and just so different. Everything comes with its own set of skills. So it's very important that regardless of what position you think you play as, learning the entire game is going to help so much. Because it's just, you never know where you're going to end up. When it comes to game time, like sometimes the coach needs you to be something that you don't think you can be. So by learning the entire game and learning the skill sets required for each position is going to help immensely. But I love being a defender. I'm through and through. That's my favorite spot on the field. Katie and I, we've talked about this before. Being able to stop someone from scoring like that wonderful, amazing, picture-perfect goal is like the best feeling in the world.
It really is.
Mean, but
yeah.
Pretty fun.
It really is the best. You're like, not in my house. I don't think so. It's great. And just adding to your point about knowing all the positions on the field so that you can fill in wherever, it's also good to know what people should be doing so that if you see something happening, you can give, the proper direction to your teammate. There's nothing like someone complaining on the field like, oh, like, why aren't you there, why aren't you doing this, but instead say, hey, do this, hey, try that, and it's a lot easier when you've been in those positions and you kind of know the movement that is expected in those positions. It just, again, it's like being in someone else's shoes, right? It's like, well, if I were her, I would want me to do this. Maybe I'm the problem right now because I'm not moving here or there the way that she needs me to. So right. It's like doing all of those, or playing in all of those positions. It just, you grow as a player in general. You understand the entire field, and say maybe in the future you want to be a coach or something, right? Well, that means like by understanding all of these positions, you can be a better coach. So correct. I don't know. I'm definitely full agreement here on all the positions.
Yeah, there really is so many benefits to being able to play multiple positions. As a midfielder, sometimes you can get a little bit like caught in, I just want to play through balls. And if you've never played outside forward, you don't know how hard it is to just constantly run. And you're thinking to yourself like, oh my gosh, can she just play me to my feet? And, if you haven't had that experience of like playing in another position, you don't really grasp what it all entails being somewhere else. Or, as a striker, a lot of times you're getting like a centre back right up your back, like kicking at your like feet. It's really hard to hold up the ball, but all the players behind, they just expect that of you. And so when you have played in other positions, you kind of have more empathy for that player. You know what they're going through, and you can, try out different ways, try and make sure they're not always just running through, or they're not always receiving the ball with a centre back right on them and getting kicked the whole entire game. So there definitely is pros to playing multiple positions. But on the flip side, playing in a variety of playing in one position, that could allow you to really develop and get that advantage over other people in the sense, if I've been a striker forever, my shooting ability is probably going to be better than somebody who's gone from center back to striker. You see what I mean? So do you guys have any other, things that you think playing one position could benefit you?
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important that from a very young age, you're on a good developmental team, because when you're younger, you're trying to figure out kind of where your place on the field is. So when you're younger, it's better to really get into those multiple positions and see what it's about, understand the full game. And then, as you go on, yeah, I think especially when you get into a higher level of play, like college or semi-pro, your position is pretty set in stone for the most part, because the coaches have already made it up for you, right? So yeah, you're totally right, especially for a position like a forward. That's like such a specific skill set to really be able to place, know when to run, know how to move. Like, I still don't know how to play forward. I'm just going to be straight up about it. I'm like, do not ever put me in an attacking position, please. Like, I'll play center mid all day long. Do not put me forward. I don't get it. So, it's like, yeah, like it is important to like, have your bread and butter, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's sort of this theory of like, would you rather know 1,000 moves or one move that you've practiced 1,000 times? What do you want to be strong? Do you want to be strong over a multitude of things, or do you want to have this one core value that like you've worked on over years and years, find fine finish on it so that like when you finally put it out in the field, it makes sense to you. And I think that for some people, like it might be better to be a jack of all trades of sorts, to be that universal player. But I don't think there's anything wrong with staying in a position that like that you're good at. Like, this is something that I enjoy doing. This is something that I feel like I can make a difference with. And if I work hard at it and if I put all of my energy into it, I can be the best person for that position. It's very rewarding to feel like, when it comes to game day, that there's going to be no question. Like, if I put you on the back line, you're going to do what I need you to do. If I put you as my striker, right, you're going to do what I need you to do. So I don't think there's anything wrong with like, finding your home on a field in a certain position. I think it can be very rewarding, especially when it comes to fruition in a goal or saving one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
completely agree. Now, do you think coaches or anybody should put a specific age? Like, some people are like, oh, when you get into high school, you need to have a certain position. Do you think that there is a cutoff? Harlie, I see you shaking your head.
I mean, I definitely think if you're gonna have any cutoff, it wouldn't be in high school, because that's like sort of like the building ground of where you get to choose to be. And you don't, as a player, you don't really have a lot of control over yourself at that level. A lot of it's in your coach's hands. I mean, for some who have been playing club for years, maybe you are able to make a better decision about where you want to play at that point. But for a lot of people, like especially in America, high school is sort of, it's developmental still. You're still trying to figure out what you're going to do as a soccer player. Like, as a freshman, I mean, in my case, like, my first time stepping on a full-size soccer field was when I was a freshman in high school. I couldn't have known what I was going to do by my senior year. So I don't think there should be like this much pressure to, really figure out who you're supposed to be as a player, like at that time, especially when, more often than not, you don't even know who you are as a person yet. You're still figuring that stuff out. So I don't know. I don't think cutoff is in high school. If there's a cutoff, it wouldn't be that time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on your team, where your strengths lie, where their strengths lie, what gaps need to be filled, because, maybe you have a bunch of awesome forwards, and why not drop one of those forwards back into center mid or outside mid? It's like, what can we do with the players that we have? And I think that's the challenge that a lot of coaches have, and that's why they like that openness for people to, or players to be able to be like, yeah, I'll go here or there or whatever. But I mean, there's girls right now, on our team. They usually, they played forward their whole life and now they're playing center mid. So you can change your position whenever, and that's why it's important to know a little bit about everything in general. And even then, you can't know everything. Like you want to be able to specialize in one area or the other, but I think if you take it season by season, that's different, right? So maybe like this season, I'm a center mid. Next season, I'm a forward. It just all changes. It all depends on who's on the team. So yeah, definitely no cap.
Yeah, one person that I like to think of is Julie Ertz. When I first like started seeing her on the field, she was a center back. Like she played defense, and she was amazing. It was incredible. But now like she's a midfielder, and sometimes she's playing up top as well. Like, and that's the highest level of competition. That's a player that, in theory, if you're thinking of cutoff, like you should probably have it figured out at the national level. But like she's going everywhere. She'll play wherever anybody wants to put her, which is incredible. So, but again,
Yeah.
that's her style of play. Like she is a universal player. That's who she wants to be. But if there's some people out there who are dedicated defenders, dedicated midfielders. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, what do you think, Meg?
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes it brings like a whole new element to the game when you've got that, outside back who's converted to a outside forward, or you've got that center back who's converted to a center midfielder, and they can bring that whole different dynamic element to the game. So it almost gives you an advantage in that sense. I definitely, for me, there is no cutoff. I came over to America thinking like, yeah, I'm a striker, like can't wait to score all these goals in America. And then my coach was like, you're not going to see enough playing time at forward. You're going to get more playing time and you're going to feel stronger and better on the field if you move into that midfield position. And I mean, 100% still think that she was right. And I'm so glad she did that. And that kind of moves me into this question. So would you guys rather play 20 minutes in the position that you yourself deem yourself to be, or a full game in a position that your coach wants you to play? Harlie, why don't you take the floor first?
Oh, this is such a good question, Megan. It's so good. I like it. Oh man, who can say there's a right answer? Because like personally, I would love to play as much as I can. Like I hold to the motto that you get better by playing. If you're that's sort of like what happened to me as a high schooler. I had a choice of playing JV or varsity when I was a sophomore, and I chose to be on the JV team because like I knew that I was going to get more playing time. I felt it was important to like at the very least be on a field that I can make a difference on. So like I guess I would like to play more and make a difference, but I mean, I'm also grateful for every minute that I can get. And if I know that I can do a good job and play as hard as I can for the 20 minutes that they're asking me for, I mean, who's to say that's the wrong answer either? Like, I want to be able to give 110% for every minute that I play. And if that's only 20 minutes, that's what I'm going to have to do, I don't know. What do you think, Katie?
So, for me, I am more of the full game kind of person because I feel that if my coach is trusting me in that position, it must mean I'm doing something right, or I've done something right in that area of the field, and it means I can do it, right? So a good example of this was when I was in college, we were playing Auburn, and there's a girl on there who was she's really good, like great in the center mid. I, at that time, was playing outside back. They put me on her as a tag player. Like that's one of the hardest things to do because it kind of disconnects you a tiny bit from the rest of the team because you're so focused on shutting down one player. So back in the day, I was good at defending and kind of like corralling and shutting people down. But in the center mid, I was so disoriented and I felt like I was playing tag. I felt like I was just trying to catch this girl, and like she turned so well. She was just so good. And so like I played the whole game because they told me, "Hey, go do that." But I did not feel like I was playing my game of soccer by any means. But I did what they told me to do. And it worked a little bit. But for the most part, I think that what it comes down to is what is best for your team too. Like, am I better here for 20 minutes, or am I better here for the full game? Like, what is
Right.
going to help the team the most? And so I think that's just kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, just be willing to do whatever it is you got to do to get the W, to make things happen. And honestly, if I'm playing and if I'm somehow involved in play development or touching the ball or anything in any capacity, I'm cool with it. You know, I am like more than happy with it. So, yeah, it might be out of our comfort zone, and yeah, you might mess up or whatever, but that's just the risk you take whenever you want to, you know, try new things or go up in a level or whatever, right? So, I'm kind of on the flip side of that one, where I'm like, I'll take what I can get nowadays, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I feel like I kind of experienced this when I came over to America, where it was almost like, did I want to say to the coach, no, I believe in myself as a forward, like, let me prove myself? Or I could say, okay, like, I trust your opinion and I agree with what you're saying, let me give this a go. And for me, it was like, I just want to play. Like, I don't really mind where I am on the field. Like, I just want to be involved. I want to be on the field. I want to be making a difference. So whatever position that may be, that's where I want to go. But then when I was younger, I kind of had the opposite, where at the one club that I was at, I kind of found myself being like this substitute that could come on and play wherever they needed me. Like, if they wanted to put me on an outside forward, if they want to put me on an outside back, if they want to put me in center mid, like, wherever they just kind of wanted to put that grit and that determination, they were like, okay, Megan, you're going in here. And I was like, I don't want to be that player. And that is what saw me make the move to Watford, because they saw me at the trials and they were like, we see you as a forward. We want you there. Like, come join us. Like, and that feeling of, okay, he sees me, my coach sees me in a position, and I really needed that for my own personal development in the game and for like my self-confidence. So I can see it on both sides, and I feel like we've all made some really good points. It's a tough one, but for me, I guess do whatever's right for you. If you back yourself in that one position and you're really determined, there is nothing wrong with saying to the coach, no, I see myself in this position and I want to prove myself, and go for it. But again, if you are like just wanting to be on the field and you're happy to be a part of the team in whatever role that may be, then that's the option for you. I think it can definitely flip.
Yeah, very well said, Megan. I think that's absolutely true. You know, and honestly, like something that is also part of my motto is like, you can only control yourself. You can only change the things that you do, the way that you act, the way that you react. You know, no player ever has been able to control their coach. Like, so, you know, if maybe like you're a player working with a team that like maybe you feel isn't utilizing you as best as you could be, you know, maybe it is time for you to make that transition to a different organization. You know, because at the end of the day, like if you know what you want to be as a player and that's not being reflected in like that organization, like, I don't know, like sometimes you just gotta take care of like what you want to do. But also, you know, if we're gonna have a flip side, you know, maybe have faith in, you know, those ahead of you, those who are coaching you. Have faith that they are seeing something in you that maybe you haven't seen before, and maybe you're not getting the playing time that you want or playing in the position that you've played in before, but they make those decisions because they're seeing something that you haven't. So it's really that question is very much like a play it by ear. There are so many different scenarios that can apply to, and you know, there's never really a right or wrong answer for that, I think. And you know, it doesn't make you a good soccer player or a bad soccer player if you say that I would rather play in one spot than play more, or I'd rather play more than play one spot. You know, it's really anyone's game at that point.
100% agreement there. Yeah.
Thanks.
We would love to know your thoughts. You know, tweet us, comment on the show. We've got the YouTube page, we've got our Twitter page. Get involved. We want to know, do you guys agree with us? Do you guys see it both ways? Are you determined that you should only play one position from a set age? We would love to know. But unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. So thank you so much for joining us today on Our Cup of Tea. And we really hope that you enjoyed finding out our views and talking about what's your position. We'd like to say a special thank you to our partners, the UWS and the UWS2, and also Jonathan Ward for helping us bring back the #1 show dedicated to women's soccer back to your screens. So give us a follow, give us a subscribe down below, and also you can follow all of our hosts. Yeah, tweet us. We'd love to know what you think, what your thoughts, and if you would like to get involved in the show, you can also email us ourcupofteawoso@gmail.com if you'd like to get involved in future shows. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.